Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome. I'm here with Mr. Earl Newman, the CEO of Newman Contracting Services. Newman Contracting Services is a DMV-based Black-owned business that primarily focuses on individuals with intellectual and physical disabilities, as well as people who just have any type of fitness goals that they maybe aren't able to reach on their own. Mr. Newman has been in the fitness industry for about 30 years. I may be giving or taking a few, so we're going to get into that. But I'm glad you all are here, and I would love to give you the floor.
The first thing that I want to point out is that Newman Contracting Services, we do contracting services through the Department on Disability Services in Washington, D.C. So people that come through the Department on Disability Services, it's abbreviated DDS. Mm-hmm. They will come through the DDS program. We are providers of service. So basically we are contractors that have went through a many-year process to even become able to work with DDS and people with intellectual physical disabilities. You are vetted and trained again, so you are able to deal with these people physically, mentally, and psychologically. The big thing is that the people that come through DDS, they're sent to us through a service coordinator. Mm. And then also we work with Rehabilitation Services Administration, RSA, and people that come through us for employment and things like that through them. What our job is to find them employment. So we've made connections. We've made connections with organizations like Ability One and Melwood, mm-hmm. Did Lake, and some other agencies, that we actually work with. Service Source. I'm not going to remember all of them right now, but what they do is they specialize. They have specialized services that are set-asides, mm-hmm. basically from the federal government for people with intellectual and physical disabilities. It's our job to interview the people that have intellectual or physical disabilities and find out what they want, first of all. There's no use in putting a person in a job. We've all done it. We don't get exactly what we want, but each person has to understand that it takes a minute for us to get you coupled with a job that you want, whether you have a disability or whether you do not. But the biggest thing is that we try to find out what they want to do. If a person wants to work as a chef, they may not start off at a Michelin star, 5-star restaurant, but they may start off being able to work over at Andrews Air Force Base in the mess hall. And that'll give them, and they can stair-step their way through just like anybody else would. And the kitchens are full of chefs that have disabilities because they actually were willing to be patient and work their way through, just like all the other chefs that are well-known and the ones that are not well-known. They may not have a disability, and that's the thing. There are professional chefs out here that exist right now that have disabilities. And that's what we do. We match you up with whatever type of work you want to do. It may start off being janitorial. You may have an expertise in some area. We want to know what you want to do, and we're going to get as close to that as we can and show you the path to work your way to where you want to be.
Speaking more specifically about how you said there are people who you may not even know are disabled, or you may not know have a disability. There are a lot of people who are struggling with their mental health right now, and there's just a whole lot going on that we don't even need to get into, but people are struggling. So Newman's Contracting Services is typically known for helping people who somewhat you can tell they have disabilities, but for someone who maybe be struggling with PTSD, or someone who may have bipolar disorder, where unless you're with them for an extended period of time, you wouldn't know they're disabled, or a person who has something where only certain motions or certain movements are painful for them, or things like that. For people who do have mental disabilities, which are not always visibly noticeable or diagnosable, like what do you guys do to help them, or how do you help them with those things? Because it's a lot different when it's like, oh, I can't use my arm as well, or my leg, or I can't see. But how do you help someone who maybe their normal day-to-day functions or their temperament or their cognitive abilities aren't the same as everyone else's?
Well, first of all, unlike an employer, if we send someone to an employer, they don't know what the person's disability is or if they have a disability. But we are providers of service like the doctors, like the dentist, and like those people. So we're actually professionals. So what we do is we have all of their medical records. We know everything about their disability. We have everything. We have their BSPs, if they have one. That's a behavioral. Anyway, I don't want to get into acronyms, but actually what we do is we pretty much know everything about a person. If they have any diagnosis at all, anything that is wrong with them physically, anything that they're dealing with mentally, it is all documented and given to us. And we have to, when we're given that person from our service coordinators, from contracting officers, we have to discuss that with the contracting officer first. We end up in actual meetings with them and find out what their disability limits them, how it limits them. Mm-hmm. And from that point, we build a program around them, whether we're doing fitness, which is what our specialty is, or whether we're doing employment for them. Fitness spawned employment because I found out when I was doing fitness how fitness empowered them, and then how it gave them opportunities to be strong enough or have confidence enough to get into the employment sector. Mm-hmm. And we found out just how it just put them back in the community and made them a community member. They're strong enough now. They have their own job. They have their own money coming in. It just makes people, whether it's an intellectual physical disability or whether they're just regular everyday folks, it gives you encouragement and strength.
I feel like there are a lot of people who do have disabilities who they're even sometimes offended by that term because they feel like they're not disabled. They
Sure.
feel like this is who I am and this is what I have to work with, and it's been working for my whole life or for the last 5 years or 6 months or however long. So people who do have disabilities and maybe they're a little more resistant to certain things, or even if it's kind of like they feel like this is what works for them, how do you get them kind of to a place where it's like, okay, this is something that is not the norm. There's nothing wrong with it, but it is different. And in certain situations, maybe how you behave or maybe how you do things, that won't work in these situations. I know you guys have like things where you teach people how to do even just personal tasks, because obviously if you're spending time with the person, they're gonna learn things like, phone calls or even making doctor's appointments, or even if you're calling someone else, it's certain things that they're going to pick up on just from being around you. So how do you get a person who maybe is a little resistant to the help, because sometimes people know that this person may need help, but they feel like they don't? How do you work with those people who feel like they don't really need you there? Because I know that happens, maybe not as much, but how do you deal with that?
Well, we don't do in-home supports and things like that. What we do is we do services that they're asking for. Mm-hmm. So if we did in-home supports or we had a group home or something like that, we'd probably have to deal with that, transportation, dealing with whether they wanted to do it or not. But the services that we offer, like fitness, they actually request fitness.
Okay.
So when they request fitness, they come in and they're aware that we don't make anybody aware. They're in the gym with people who don't have disabilities. Mm-hmm. We have never made, now some of the people in the gym are aware that they have a disability because they can see it, but we don't treat them any different. And the reality of it is we start them where they are and we progress them to where they want to be. We've had tons of success. And as far as employment is concerned, they have to be realistic about, just like everyone else, about their education level, what they can handle physically. And at that point, then what we do is we put them in a place where they're comfortable. But even employment is something that they have to request. Mm-hmm. They want to come to us. They want to be employed. They're all excited about, I want to get a government job. I want to work for this agency. I want to work for that agency. I would love to work on a military base. It's something that encourages their souls. It's something that they're excited about.
Okay, that's good to hear, because I do have a few disabled family members, and they are a lot of times people who maybe can't speak, as eloquently as everybody else, or maybe they don't have like the ability to communicate, or even just the phone or whatever it is. They can't say exactly what they want or exactly what they desire from whatever. And people kind of dictate how they live their life and what they do and where they go and who helps them. So Obviously, Newman Contracting Services is very much at the will of the person who is getting the service. So anybody who is desiring to work with them, if you want to get healthy, if you want a job, if you do just want to kind of just expand your horizons, you're not limited or required by whoever your caretaker is or whoever it is to do certain things. It's fully what you want, what you need, what you're comfortable with, and they'll work with you with those type of things.
Well, could I interject something here?
Yes.
Yeah, what we do is we follow a policy of person-centered treatment, or person-centered services. It's not about what we want, it's not about what other people say they want, it's about ultimately what they want. We talk to their doctors, we talk to their service coordinators, we talk to their parents, we talk to their guardians. But ultimately, we sit down with them in an assessment process, and we filter through what everyone else wants. And we want to know, what do you want? Sometimes they're not sure what they want. They want you to pick it for them. We do that. We have no problem with putting a program together for you. We have no problem with finding you work that you think you might like. But it's person-centered thinking. That's how Newman Contracting Services runs. That's how Department on Disability Services runs. That's how the federal government runs. It has to be person-centered services. If we go to the Veterans Administration, those guys know what they want. If we go to DDS or RSA, they're here because they know they want that service. And what we do is we just try to enhance them and give them the tools that they need to be successful in the community, in society. And like I said, it's not a lot of challenges. We don't meet the challenges that we would meet if we were doing in-home supports, or if we were doing a group home where we have to get them to their appointments and things like that. Everything that we do is person-centered, and when they come in, they're focused on getting that job, or they're focused on getting in shape, or they're focused on getting stronger, or they're focused on being able to get up and do things on their own that they can't physically do when they come to us.
So I think that's all I have for you today. And just to wrap everything up, again, this is Earl Newman, CEO of Newman Contracting Services, DMV based. Any questions you have, we're going to have their information linked below. We're going to have the Instagram and everything, emails if you want to reach out to them directly. But again, this is a DMV-based Black-owned business. We are primarily focused on people with disabilities, but there is a full spectrum of people who they work with regularly. So if you have any questions, if you're not sure if you're technically disabled, if you're not sure, maybe you're too old or too young, whatever you have, we have all their contact information, and we're happy that you stayed tuned with us. And thank you for coming, Mr. Newman.
Can I add one thing?
Yes.
Yeah, we just encourage the veterans. We want to work with the VA.
Okay.
I mean, we really want to work with disabled veterans. We want to work with people who come back from deployments, people who've been involved in conflicts. If I got into the Walter Reed story, I've worked with the gamut, from the Navy SEALs to the Marine Recon to the Army Rangers. And I just absolutely love the military. My children were military, and I look forward to working with our veterans.